They laughed when I said I wanted to start my own business. "You're not smart enough," they said. I didn't respond, but this weekend they all showed up begging because they laughed when I said it out loud. Not the kind of polite chuckle you give someone when they're telling a joke that didn't quite land. No, this was real laughter. Loud. Sharp. Dismissive. I still remember the way Jason nearly choked on his beer, pounding his chest while gasping. "You start a business? Bro, you can't even fix your microwave." Emily snorted so hard she spilled wine on her jeans. "You're not smart enough," she said, as if it were just a fact. Not a question, not an insult. Just cold truth, the way you tell someone they were short or allergic to peanuts. We were at our regular hangout, a college bar off 8th Street with sticky floors and neon lights that buzzed like dying insects. It was a Friday night, everyone buzzing with cheap drinks and cheaper opinions. I'd made the mistake of dreaming out loud. That was the night everything shifted for me. They didn't know it, but I had already bought a domain name. It was dumb, they would have said. I didn't even know how to code. I didn't have money. I didn't have connections. But what I had, quietly, burning in my chest like a slow flame, was certainty. Not in my idea, necessarily, but in myself. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't beg them to see it. I just nodded, laughed with them, and let the silence swallow the rest of my words. Because deep down, I knew something they didn't. I had just made a promise to myself. One they'd regret underestimating. What they saw was a guy working retail, stuck in a dead-end job at a warehouse supply store, barely keeping up with rent, occasionally crashing on his cousin's couch when the heat in his apartment gave out. What they didn't see was the hours I spent after work, hunched over a second-hand laptop teaching myself how to build a Shopify store. How I watched YouTube tutorials until 3 a.m. about dropshipping, branding, digital ads. They didn't see the ramen dinners, the freelance gigs I picked up, ghostwriting wedding vows, designing logos for small-town dentists, just to scrape together enough to test my first product idea. It was a water bottle. Not just any water bottle. This one had a weird design, a hidden infuser, a collapsible base, and it came in neon colors. Everyone I mentioned it to said it was stupid. "It's just a bottle," they'd say. "What's special about that?" But I knew something they didn't. People don't buy products. They buy stories. I worked in silence. That's the thing no one tells you about building something, especially when no one believes you can. The work is quiet. Unseen. No one's clapping when you're up at 4 a.m. trying to figure out why your website won't load. No one's patting your back when your Facebook ads are eating your budget with 0 sales. And when you get your first return, it feels personal. Like a gut punch. Like they were right. But I kept going. Every setback was a quiet whisper in my ear. Prove them wrong. I tested a dozen product angles. Hid behind fake names on Reddit to ask for feedback. Took customer service calls myself, pretending to be our support team. I emailed influencers at midnight, offering to ship free samples just for a mention. Some ignored me. Some ghosted. A few said yes. And then, one of them posted a video. It was a fitness influencer, just mid-tier, nothing huge. She used the bottle in one of her morning routines, barely said anything about it. Just poured her lemon water in and said, "This thing's actually kind of clever." That night, my Shopify app pinged 73 times. 73 orders. I thought it was a glitch. I remember standing barefoot in my kitchen, holding my phone, blinking. Then laughing. The kind of laugh that's half joy, half disbelief. My heart thudded like I'd sprinted a mile. And for the first time, I allowed myself to think, this could be real. It wasn't some Hollywood explosion. It wasn't overnight. But it was a spark. A flicker of light in a tunnel I'd been crawling through for years. I didn't post about it. Didn't tell anyone. Not even my cousin, whose couch I was still occasionally crashing on. Because I'd learned something from their laughter. People don't believe until they see results. And even then, they don't believe it came from you. So I kept my head down. And I got to work. The orders kept trickling in. Then dripping. Then pouring. I started sleeping less, working more. My phone became a lifeline: customer complaints, order updates, ad reports, supplier issues. It was chaos, beautiful chaos. I moved from selling bottles one by one to pallet orders from small gyms and yoga studios. I had to get a storage unit. Then, too, I'd spend my mornings loading boxes into my beat-up hatchback, making runs to the post office with packages stacked so high I couldn't see out the rearview mirror. Every dollar that came in, I reinvested. I didn't buy new clothes. Didn't upgrade my phone. Still ate ramen some nights. Still dodged calls from friends who only rang when they wanted to borrow money for drinks. I stopped replying to the group chat entirely. They noticed, of course. Jason sent a "Yo, you alive?" message after a few weeks of silence. I told him I'd been busy with work. "What, stocking shelves?" he replied, followed by a laughing emoji. I didn't respond. It wasn't anger. It was focus. Pure, ruthless focus. My life became a machine: optimize, repeat, expand. I learned to run ads better than people who charge thousands to do it. Taught myself Photoshop just well enough to fake being a designer. I even filmed my own product videos in my bathroom using a white towel as the backdrop. Then came the breakthrough. A viral TikTok. It wasn't mine. It was a customer, a teenage girl in Florida, who filmed herself unboxing the bottle and gushing about it. It hit 1.3 million views in a weekend. My website crashed twice. I sold out of inventory in 3 days. By the following Monday, I had 2 investment emails in my inbox and a DM from a reporter asking for an interview. That's when I knew. I wasn't crawling anymore. I was sprinting. I remember the day I signed the lease for my new house. It wasn't some Hollywood mansion. Just a sleek, modern space tucked into a quiet neighborhood overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Polished concrete floors. It looked nothing like the cramped apartment I used to dream in, but everything like the future I'd carved with my own hands. The real flex wasn't the house. It was the silence. No roommates, no banging walls, no someone else's music bleeding through the floorboards. Just quiet. The kind that felt earned. Around that time, the magazines came calling. A business column ran a piece titled, "The Water Bottle Wizard." Corny, but it caught fire. My inbox became a revolving door: brands wanting to collab, influencers wanting deals, distant cousins checking in. Even Jason messaged me. "Saw your face on Forbes, dude. That's wild. We should catch up sometime." I stared at that message for a long time. I could have ignored it. Blocked him. But something in me wanted to wait. Let it simmer. Because something bigger was coming. That weekend, I signed a multi-million-dollar distribution deal with a major health brand. I barely blinked at the zeros anymore. What hit harder was the location of the celebration dinner: my house. I made it a formal thing. Champagne. Music. The works. Hired a private chef. Sent invites. And yes, I invited them. All of them. Jason. Emily. The co-workers from my old job. Even my parents. And they came. Oh, they came. They walked in like they'd never left. Jason with his fake grin and a bottle of wine that was clearly regifted. Emily dressed like she was stepping into a Vogue shoot, complimenting the view while scanning for cameras. My parents arrived just behind them, my father doing that thing where he pretends to be proud, as if the last thing he said to me wasn't, "Get a real job." I greeted them all with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. The house was buzzing. People from the industry mingled with old acquaintances. There was a massive screen cycling through product milestones, early packaging, growth charts, media features. The centerpiece? A looped video clip of a younger me in a hoodie, nervously unboxing my first shipment, timestamped from 3 years ago. Jason hovered near it, wide-eyed. "Man, you've come a long way," he said. "Didn't think you were serious back then." "Yeah," I replied casually. "You said I wasn't smart enough, remember?" He chuckled awkwardly. "Come on, man, you know I was just messing around." "No, you weren't," I said, still smiling. "But it's okay. Everyone's entitled to be wrong. Emily sipped her drink and tried to pivot the conversation. So, any job openings at your company? I've been freelancing lately. Would love to help with branding. I looked at her, long and hard. Didn't you say the brand was stupid? She laughed. Nervous again. I didn't mean it like that. I turned and walked away. Let her marinate in that silence. The kind she used to leave me in when I pitched ideas during college, and she'd just roll her eyes. That night I gave a toast. Short, but deliberate. To all the people who didn't believe in me, thank you. You gave me the silence I needed to focus. You gave me the motivation to work while you laughed. And tonight, well, you're standing in a house your laughter helped build. The room was quiet. And for the first time in years, I held the floor, and no one dared to interrupt. The dinner ended, but the real show began in the lounge afterward. I'd set it up on purpose. One by one, guests were invited to a quieter room, dim lighting, velvet chairs, soft music. On one wall, a massive digital screen showed timelines. A retrospective. Photos of my old life, the warehouse job, screenshots of ad accounts, the first month's pitiful sales, the first 100K month, the first viral TikTok. And in the corner, quotes. Real ones? I pulled them from texts, emails, even old social media comments. I had them saved, not out of pettiness but memory. A kind of emotional ledger. One read. Maybe stick to retail, bro. You're not a startup guy. Jason, 2019. Another. This idea is actually kind of dumb. Nobody's going to care about a water bottle with a twisty lid. Emily, 2020. People read them, and you could see their eyes flick toward the source. And the silence that followed wasn't the awkward kind. It was reverent. Heavy. Jason came up to me again, drink in hand, the mask slipping. Listen, man, I know I said some stuff back then, but I was just being honest, you know? Everyone's struggling now. I was wondering, maybe there's something I could do for you. I studied him for a second. You mean like a job? His eyes lit up. Yeah. Or maybe equity. If you're expanding, I've got experience. I leaned in calm. I've got a rule. I only work with people who believed in me when I had nothing. He blinked. Come on, don't hold a grudge. I smiled. This isn't a grudge. It's policy. Emily tried her angle next. Offered to reconnect over coffee. Said she'd love to collaborate on something new. I told her she could fill out the same job application as everyone else. Minimum wage, part-time, no perks. She didn't take it well. My father, ever the master of avoiding accountability, gave a speech about how he always knew I had it in me. My mother nodded dutifully. I let him speak. Then showed him the lawyer's email, about how he once tried to co-sign a loan in my name after I moved out. This, I said, is why I built a wall between me and you. He opened his mouth. I didn't let him speak. Because now, I was the one doing the talking. The next day, the aftershock hit. Jason left without saying goodbye. Emily posted a vague Instagram story about fake friends and jealous people, then unfollowed me. My parents sent a long, rambling email full of half-hearted apologies and veiled guilt trips, how they only wanted what was best. How success changes people. How family should come first. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to my assistant, with one line. Add to archive. The truth is, success doesn't change people. It reveals them. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was something deeper. Clear. The house was quiet again, and I walked through it barefoot, the way I used to dream about when the heater didn't work in my old place. I walked past the framed blueprint of my first product. Past the hall where I took midnight calls with suppliers in China. Past the guest room where I used to sleep when I was too exhausted to make it to my bed. Every inch of that house was built with bruises they didn't see. Sacrifices they'll never understand. That weekend wasn't a revenge story. It was a reckoning. A full circle moment where I let them see what I became, not to impress them, not to win them back, but to remind them, they were wrong. Every dismissive laugh, every backhanded comment, every time they called me stupid, delusional, ridiculous, they were wrong. And now, they didn't get to benefit from the outcome. The Monday after the party, my phone rang off the hook. Not from friends. From investors. From distributors. From 2 national retail chains wanting to talk shelf space. I took only one of the calls, from a woman named Nadine at a major e-commerce accelerator. She said, "You've built something lean and resilient. We'd like to bring you into our portfolio." I smiled. Funny how things shift. When I was bootstrapping, no one returned my emails. Now they were stumbling over themselves to offer me strategic guidance. I wasn't chasing. I was choosing. Meanwhile, back in the old world, the world I came from, my former boss from the warehouse texted me. "Saw your story in Business Weekly. Congrats. We could use someone like you on our marketing team." I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I wrote back. "You once told me, you're not paid to think, just to show up on time. So I did. And I left. And I built something you couldn't even imagine. Kindly lose my number." Petty? Maybe. But satisfying? Deeply. And then came the ask. Jason emailed a resume. A real one. It was clearly hastily updated, with a desperate cover letter attached. "I've always admired your work ethic," he wrote. "I believe my skills could really help you scale." It ended with, "I know we joked around in college, but I always respected your ambition." Respect? He hadn't respected me when he laughed in my face. Or when he posted that meme in our alumni group chat. Entrepreneur equals unemployed with a laptop. No. This wasn't respect. This was opportunism, dressed up in a borrowed suit. I replied, "Jason, I've filled the role. It required humility, foresight, and belief in people before they succeed. I hope you find something soon." He never wrote back. Emily's email came a day later. Hers wasn't a resume. It was a pitch deck. She'd co-founded a small creative agency, made an Instagram page and a Canva logo, and wanted to collaborate on influencer outreach. She even ended it with, "Always believed in your vision." I forwarded it to my assistant with a single note. Decline with silence. But the one that stung came from my mother. It wasn't direct. It was a voicemail. Soft, quiet, like she was trying to sound motherly again. "We're proud of you, sweetheart. You've worked so hard. Maybe we could all come by again, just the family this time?" I didn't answer it. I sent her the same digital invite I send to strangers who request meetings, a link to book a 15-minute slot on my calendar, under public relations. She never booked it. Because this wasn't about a chat. This wasn't about catching up. This was about access. And I wasn't giving it away for free anymore. You see, I hadn't changed. I was still me. Still the guy who stayed up until 3 a.m. Googling how to write a product description. Still the guy who built his email list one subscriber at a time. Still the guy who taught himself HTML in a coffee shop with a cracked laptop and fingers numb from cold. But now, I had leverage. And with leverage comes the sweetest kind of power, the ability to say no with a smile. A month after the party, I received a handwritten letter. Not from a fan, not from a business contact. From my father. The same man who once told me that dreams were a distraction for people who couldn't hold a job. The same man who, during one particularly cruel Thanksgiving, said across the table, "If you want a future, you should try being realistic." Now his penmanship was shaky, blue ink on heavy cream paper. No return address. Just a desperate elegance to it. He wrote that he was proud, that he'd always known I had potential, and that he might have been too hard on me because he didn't know how to show support. It was written like a confession, as if he believed the words might undo the damage. I read it once. Then again. Not for meaning, but for confirmation. I wanted to make sure I hadn't imagined the years he spent dismissing me. I wanted to be sure that the silence, the cold looks, the years of emotional absence hadn't just been mine alone. but they were real. And now he wanted a rewrite. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, anger was years behind me, but because I didn't owe him anything. Sometimes silence is the loudest form of truth. That weekend I visited the building where I used to work, an ugly gray block of cement, buzzing with fluorescent lights and bitterness. The warehouse was still there, still full of people clocking in and out like machines. I parked a block away and watched. There he was, Derek, my old supervisor. Still barking at temps. Still red-faced, still bitter. I remembered how he once told me, "You're not cut out for anything beyond this. Some people just need to accept their place." Funny how things change. I walked past him. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? I wasn't wearing the bruises of that life anymore. But I remembered him. Just like I remembered the college career advisor who told me, "Startups aren't for people with your GPA." And the coworker who said, "If your idea was any good, someone else would have done it already." I remembered every face, every smirk, every moment they tried to shrink me. And now? Now I had investors who flew cross-country just to hear me talk. Now I had a staff of 17, real people, with real careers, whose paychecks came from the brand that wasn't smart enough to work. Now I had former professors inviting me back to inspire the next generation. And now I had strangers calling me visionary in magazine interviews while people who knew me best once called me foolish. It was surreal. Success didn't feel like a fireworks display. It felt like walking into every room that once made you feel small, and realizing you don't fit there anymore. Not because you've outgrown the space, but because the space never knew your worth to begin with. I didn't take revenge the way they expected. No gloating. No sabotage. I didn't need to. I just thrived. And I let them watch. I stood on my balcony that night, city lights flickering below, the echo of laughter and music still hanging in the air from the last gathering. No more pretending. No more begging for belief. Just peace. It hit me then, not the wealth, not the recognition, but the stillness inside. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing approval. I wasn't proving anything anymore. I had done what they said I couldn't. And I did it without needing their permission. If someone out there is where I once was, laughed at, underestimated, forgotten, remember this: you don't owe them your silence, your surrender, or your success. Let them talk. Let them laugh. And then, let them watch you win. Quietly. Completely.